Deborah Winger, a renowned 1980s actress, was once considered one of the best actors in the industry. She was compared to stars like Jane Fonda and Meryl Streep, had 2 Oscar nominations for An Officer and a Gentleman, and won over major directors from Hollywood to Europe. However, she almost disappeared a little more than 10 years later, with no terrible roles, public collapse, or dramatic scandal. Winger remained silent for years after being labeled tough, conceited, and uncontrollable. The connections that influenced and destroyed her career include friendships that never materialized, directors who attempted to muzzle her, producers who rejected her, and co-stars who mistreated her. This article tells the tale of a lady who dared to say no in a society that only cherished those who answered yes. One of the most significant works of art was An Officer and a Gentleman, which was praised for its sincerity and emotional depth. Winger saw Richard Gere, her co-star, as little more than a brick wall. Gere was seen as charming, restrained, and soulful, but despite portraying a famous loving relationship on film, it became a symbol of the resistance and separation between 2 individuals who were unable to connect off-screen. In his biography, Louis Gossett Jr. attested that Winger and Gere stayed away from one another while the camera wasn't running, without any warmth, engagement, or talks. Richard Gere acknowledged that there was conflict between them in an interview, but provided no further context. Deborah Winger, the lead actress in the 1980s film An Officer and a Gentleman, faced severe injuries behind the camera. Producer Don Simpson and director Taylor Hackford treated her like a damaged object, insulting her and suggesting she take diuretics. Winger was incensed and refused to give up, leading to the entire filming process being stopped when she objected to a sequence that compromised her character's integrity. Winger was not just an actress honing her craft on the set of An Officer and a Gentleman, but a young lady negotiating a male-dominated society. The strong but inflexible director Taylor Hackford was known for his brutality, vulgarity, and obsession with controlling females. Winger famously called the strong but inflexible director an animal. Despite being the film's emotional core, Winger was regularly treated like a second-class actor. The most severe injuries weren't caused by those behind the camera, but rather by the editing room. Producer Don Simpson reportedly insulted Winger by saying she wasn't female enough to play the lead, which was unacceptable even by 1980s Hollywood standards. Winger resisted, objecting to filming a sequence that she said grossly distorted the character's psyche. The production delay infuriated director Hackford, who later acknowledged that Winger was accurate emotionally, structurally, and psychologically. However, he had no remorse for admitting that she was not someone he could easily control. Winger never again collaborated with Simpson or Hackford, and her silence held the weight of an indictment. Deborah Winger, a passionate actress, played the lead in A League of Their Own, a film about women baseball players during World War II. She dedicated her career to women, history, and acting, training with the Chicago Cubs for 3 months. When Madonna joined the cast, Winger left without justification, feeling the film had changed its direction from a historical story to an Elvis movie. She never went straight after Madonna, but she believed that her heart could no longer stand artistic compromise. Winger was replaced by Gina Davis, a revered part of American pop culture. The movie became a huge success, but Winger had no regrets, as she believed that an actor's absence might sometimes be their last creative act. One of her most intense relationships was with Shirley MacLaine, whom she referred to as Mother on film, but never approached as a co-worker in real life. Both actresses were nominated for Best Actress in the 1983 film Terms of Endearment, which won Best Picture at the Oscars. The set was a silent battlefield where 2 independent-minded women fought in every scene, every look, and every interruption. When MacLaine missed her mark during a take, Winger yelled at her, "Hit your mark!" and then farted in her face, causing tension. This incident was later described by MacLaine in her biography, My Lucky Stars. Winger acknowledged the truth of the incident, stating that they did not despise each other but challenged each other. Despite the public's curiosity about the relationship, Winger remained respectful, allowing others to retell the story as they saw fit. Certain conflicts, whether won or lost, never really go away. Deborah Winger, a renowned actress, was known for her unvarnished honesty and unvarnished acting. She worked with various co-stars in the late 1980s, including John Malkovich, who she portrayed as a runway model. However, Winger found Malkovich's icy stare, abstract writing, and delivery of words to be the ultimate offense. She never concealed her emotions or spoke negatively about him in the years that followed. Throughout her 20 years in Hollywood, Winger possessed qualities that Hollywood rarely accepted in a woman, such as independence and creative vision. These traits were considered difficult, unworkable, and dangerous for Winger. Director James Bridges once said that he had stopped filming when Winger refused to do a sequence, but after reviewing it, he admitted she was correct. Winger did not revolt against misrepresentation of the truth or the manipulation of women by men. She was aware of this and knew it well. In 1995, she stood next to her spouse in an open field in Ireland and said simply, "I'm done." She decided to stand back and live for art rather than for fame. Winger was not a Hollywood bad girl, but she didn't fight addiction, ruin sets, or use the media to spread false information. This may be why Hollywood, a culture that values submissive women, was unsure of how to handle her. Despite her failure, Winger remained at the top of the industry when she still had options and could refuse. Her refusal to make concessions in a field that relies heavily on conformity was her biggest transgression. In a field that relies heavily on conformity, her refusal to make concessions was her biggest transgression. Deborah Winger fought, was hurt, and was shoved out of the way, but she never cheated on herself. Her voice was unstoppable, and that was all she possessed. If someone is wondering why Deborah Winger was never well-liked in the movie business, they should ask if it was because she was too challenging or because she dared to speak things that others were scared to utter.